Hey there, welcome to the NFL DFS breakdown. This is Kevin and Taylor. We're going to go down for DraftKings Week 11. Hopefully help you win. We've been handing out good plays for weeks now. Hopefully you had a good week last week. If not, hopefully we can point you in the right direction. If we do, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join us in Discord. Discord is 100% free. If you want our premium plays for NFL, MMA, NBA, and everything else that we cover, just $5.99 a month over at dfsbuild.com. So be sure to take advantage of that. If you're watching this as we do it live, you can drop a comment, ask questions. And if you're not watching it live, just come head it over to Discord and we'll help you as much as we can. The way we do this, we go game by game, team by team, looking at all the plays that we want to play and adding a little bit of context to that. All right, so over at Roto Grinders here, we're using their projections because they're awesome. We're going to start with Carolina and Atlanta. This is on the road in Atlanta. 4-point dogs, the Panthers are. Rico Dowdle coming in with an 18-point fantasy projection, pushing 7K. Let's start with him since he's been such a big name for weeks now. How excited are you to play Rico?
I think he's a good play again. I don't think he's going to be the mega chalk he was last week when he was like 6,300 against whoever the fuck they were playing last week. But
the Saints.
He played like 80% of the snaps, didn't really get there, scored a he was fine. He wasn't the reason you lost if you lost.
He started out great.
He like wasn't the reason you won either.
No, he was not.
But he still got the work. I think he's a fine play. The matchup's okay. They're in a dome. I don't mind it. 6,800 is reasonable. So I am a bit under the field on the projected ownership as of now, but I still have around 12% of him. Mm-hmm. Good play. Really the only thing I want from Carolina. I think you can always play Ted McMillan and just hope that this is one of the weeks where he does something, but don't have a whole lot of faith in Bryce Young to get the job done.
No, Rico is banged up, so got to monitor that. Like if he's out, Chuba Hubbard at 4.8K would look awesome, right? Like that would be a pretty easy core play. But Rico is still not expensive enough for the role and the floor and the upside. Like he wasn't even good last week and he still got 15 fantasy points. So by the way, last 4 weeks, nobody's worse against fantasy running backs than the Falcons. So the matchup looks really good on the year. They're fourth worst. So all around equal opportunity sad sacks against RBs. So they look good. Yeah, but I'm with you. It's just Rico or bust or Hubbard or bust. On the Atlanta side, Bijan, I don't know what's been going on with Bijan. Tyler Algier stealing my touchdowns. Like I got this guy in fantasy leagues. It's starting to piss me off. The ceiling has just not been there. Obviously, it's Bijan Robinson. He's immensely talented. That could change immediately. Panthers had been bad against the run when they ran into, I think it was it Miami that he played that he just like dropped a complete dud, or was it actually this same matchup? I can't remember.
Well, this was the game they lost 30-0. He was okay. It was Miami when he was like mega chalk and failed horribly.
Okay. So like I think the matchup is good. I like that he's not really chalky. So like for a stud and the ceiling he has at 8.3, like prices come down, good projection, decent spot, not insanely owned. So I'm definitely interested in being over where the field is at. I think we just have to go in knowing like there's risk here. There's more risk here than we want. Like you're not getting JT or C-Mac where the role is just absolutely insane. He has this pesky Tyler Algier guy pecking away at his touches a little bit. And Atlanta's offense as a whole just is not that reliable. So for tournaments, I would love the ownership to come down a little bit, but I am interested. Drake London kind of continues to be a god. So I think we can tap into that. Like we could be getting like wide receiver 1 ability here. Like there is risk, there's downside because Michael Penix isn't very good. But 7.4K for a guy who can definitely get you 35 to 40 fantasy points is a discount. So I do have interest in that. And if you want to stack them up with Penix at 4.7, I think that's an okay thing to do. But he doesn't offer rushing upside at all. So for the most part, I'm just going the big guys here, and they're not egregiously owned, so they're pretty interesting.
Yeah, I love Bijan. I think he's an amazing play. I feel like the ownership is not super high. Like he might be around 20%, but that's reasonable for a guy like this. He's been underwhelming. It's mostly touchdowns. Like he hasn't scored a touchdown in the last 3 games, and I think that's kind of scaring people away. But he's still playing. He played 86% of the snaps last week. Algier scored a touchdown. Like it's kind of bad luck. 2 weeks ago, he had 10 targets. The one game when he sucked as chalk was the game Kirk Cousins started and was just abysmal. While Penix is not amazing, I think he's more competent than Kirk Cousins. So I do have a bit more faith in the offense, despite them putting up 0 against Carolina last time. But they're at home this time. The offense has looked much better the 2 weeks since Penix came back, even though they lost both games. So I love Bijan at 8-3. I love Drake London as well. I'm getting more Bijan than London, but not by much right now. Probably just playing them by themselves. I'm not super psyched about cheap Penix. I just don't really know if there's a ceiling there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't feel inclined to stack. I think it's fine, but it's not something I'm going to do a lot of. I think tight end is a bit of a death zone this week. Like there's one guy that I like a lot, and then everybody else is just all mixed into a big bag of meh. So Kyle Pitts at 4K against the 7th worst defense against fantasy tight ends. Like I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. I think that's an okay try. Not going to get to it a lot, but just thought I'd mention it. It's a decent value. Tampa Bay against the Bills. This game is a 47.5 total in Buffalo. Bills are almost a touchdown favorite. I mean, I don't know what to make of Buffalo as far as like, are we worried about them blowing Tampa Bay out here or not? I don't know. That they don't seem to be the same team every time they hit the field each week. That said, I would imagine Tampa Bay's trailing, which really bodes well for Emeka Egbuka. 7-2. It continues to be too cheap for the upside he possesses. I mean, look what he did last week. They get like 26 or something, 28 fantasy points. Yeah, the floor can be low, but the role, the talent, the upside, it's all way too good to be 7-2 and not be like really, really owned. So he looks amazing. I like him a lot. You can pair him with Baker if you want to. I'm kind of out on Rachaad White. I'm kind of sick of this because like he really burned me last week and he just has not been very good lately. So I think the allure has faded. Tez Johnson at 4.7 is an okay value. You could take a shot on Sean Tucker at 5K, like actually fully ripping the gig away from White because he's kind of been cutting into him lately. But for the most part, it's just Egbuka or bust.
I think Otten is a fine tight end play, 4,200. Like you said, it's a pretty thin position. Obviously, It's always a thin position. So I think Otten's okay. He's got a decent role these days with the injuries they have. I feel like I should be getting more of this than I am. I'm not really getting to a ton of Egbuka, Tez Johnson, pretty much no Baker Mayfield either. Like he's just too expensive. The game could shoot out, and that could look like a bad take, but I'm pretty under on everything here.
Well, I understand why. It's because there's like 4 really good wide receivers on this slate that are all priced up over 8K. It's just kind of hard to prioritize like Egbuka. I think I'm going to go out of my way to do it though, just because he can match those guys pretty easily.
It's also worth noting this game has 15 to 20 mile an hour winds and a rain snow mix. So I think that might be part of why they don't look super good in projections.
That is worth noting. I didn't actually know that. So that is extremely useful information. We'll see how I allow that to impact what I want to do. If it's going to be like really impacting ownership to the point where like nobody's playing him, I think I might ignore it. I feel like there is a 99% rate of success of these bad weather games that scare people away. They end up not mattering and like it's fine. You can play whoever you want. So I'm still interested. We'll see how much of a threat it is as we get closer to the weekend. On the other side of the Bills, you can always play Josh Allen, 7K flat, bounce back opportunity for sure, shootout potential, pretty good spot to just, throw caution to the wind and pay for him. The only issue is there's just so much else to pay up for. I never love paying a premium at quarterback when there are good value plays. And I got a good one, baby. Who do I got a good one for this week? James Cook at 7.3, totally fair play. Huh?
Davis Mills.
Oh, give it up, buddy. Give it up. 28 fantasy points. I hit the mother load of the play of the week last week. Davis Mills, my king. Anyways, you're damn right. James Cook's totally in play. I feel like if I'm going to go that high, though, there's other guys I want to play, and we'll get to them a little bit. But if you want to play James Cook, if you want to play Josh Allen, I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going out of my way to stack with Josh Allen, though. I think we've been saying it all year. It's just like, it's a fool's errand. You might hit with Keon Coleman or Khalil Shakir, but at what cost? Yeah,
I think the weather makes guys like Allen and Cook look a bit better. Like if they're going to have to run or do short throws and shit, like I think that's obviously good for those guys. I think it's good for Shakir. Kincaid is banged up. If he's out, maybe Dawson Knox is a punt you could consider, but not ton here. Shaquille's the one I have the most. I don't really love it into ownership in a game with snow, but he's cheap. I think he's also banged up, so that's worth keeping tabs on. But with the weather, I think this game would be pretty easy to ignore for the most part.
Yeah, maybe. I will say, like, I think you're kind of alluding to it, though. Like, if people are going to be afraid of the weather, I think definitely the Bills side of it is the one that would benefit the most and like be less risky, because Josh Allen obviously, he could obviously just get a bunch of runs and get red zone opportunities. So keep that in mind. All right, Chargers and Jaguars, 43.5 total in Jacksonville. The Jaguars are 3-point home dogs. Justin Herbert and all the Chargers look pretty good here. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm getting to them a lot. Jacksonville, as you know, very attackable matchup through the air. The issue, as always, with LA is who to pair Justin Herbert with. McConkey and Johnston are banged also. I mean, if one of them's out or both of them out, obviously that makes things a little more clear. But if they're all in, it's always tough. I think Gadsden, 4,600 is one of the best plays on the slate at tight end, beside of Trey McBride. So getting a ton of him. Herbert himself with McConkey, I think, is pretty good. Johnston is 5K. Obviously, there's a ceiling on that price tag. Keenan Allen, probably best served if someone McConkey winds up missing, something like that. Kamani Vidal, I think, is a perfectly fine play at 5.9 once again, especially if people are going to get to the passing game here. So there's a lot to like. They're not really getting a ton of ownership. Gadsden, I see, as the highest projected player here. So love the Chargers. I think it's a really good spot, even going from the West Coast to the East Coast.
Yeah, not really sure why they're not getting ownership. They're all very fairly priced, and the matchup is sublime. I would definitely favor the passing game. Herbert, Ladd, Gadsden, whoever's it. Like Gadsden and QJ are both questionable, I think. So just keep an eye on the statuses. If either of them miss, that would open things up considerably for the rest of the offense. But Charger stacks, baby. They're going to feed families. So the other side, the Jaguars, T-Law is only 5.1K, perpetually 5.1K, it seems. Etienne, Brian Thomas Jr., if he's back, I think they're all okay as comebacks. Obviously can't do comeback with T-Law, but if you're going to play Chargers, I think getting out of Jaguar is okay. It's just I don't really feel like I need to play them.
I think you can go back to Parker Washington at 5-1. I think he was aided by a punt return touchdown, but still has a pretty good role with Travis Hunter out for the season. Jacoby Myers still kind of working his way in. So I think he's playable. I think Jacoby's playable, but not exciting. ETN is a cheap running back. Don't hit it as a run back with your LA passing stack, but not as into the Jaguar side of this one overall.
Yeah, man, good call. Parker Washington, 9+ targets in each of his last 3 games. If Brian Thomas Jr. is back, I would sour on that with his price coming up. But if Brian Thomas Jr. remains out, I would be with you on that. Worth noting, the Chargers defense looked like a god squad against the Steelers in their last game. So if that carries over, that's a little scary. Bears and Vikings, NFC North battle, 48.5 total. The Vikings are 2.5-point favorites at home. Not really the best spot to stack Bears here. You can always play Caleb Williams, DeAndre Swift, Roma Dunze, but this isn't really where I want to do it. Division rivalries can be kind of tough to gauge. Plus, Minnesota's defense is good, and it's on the road. So, GPP for life, but I'm not really feeling the Bears.
Yeah, kind of Zacchaeus like as a punt, but I don't ever want to play Zacchaeus really. Yeah, I agree. Like the running backs are kind of splitting. Swift is still on the right of that split. I don't know if they'll continue forever with the non guy. I think he got a touch again last week, but he still has a role. Yep. I wouldn't like this because it's in a dome and we've seen Chicago has ceiling, but for the most part, it's a fade for me.
Yep. All right. On the other side, Minnesota getting the Bears. They do have an underrated defense, although they give like 45 points to the Bengals a couple of games ago, and Jackson Dart was just crushing them last week. So 5.2K JJ McCarthy. Let's go back to the well, baby. Like I don't have a problem with it. He's at home, like you said, in a dome. Bears defense, it can be okay, but they haven't been great. We do have the rushing floor. So he looks good. Jettas continues to fail me and everybody else all year. But if we want to take a shot on 7.5K,
he's getting cheaper.
Yeah, he's getting cheaper. I'm okay with it. At the same time, though, I'm also okay with just running 5.2K McCarthy naked. TJ Hawkinson's price has come way down. He's 3K flat. And the Bears, I feel like the Bears aren't amazing against tight ends. I don't have the actual ranking here in front of me, but I think 3K is 3K, man. So I like McCarthy. I'm okay with taking another shot on Jefferson and Hockenson at a pretty weak tight end position. I think that's a pretty good punt.
I love this spot. I think McCarthy at 5.2 is an awesome play in the dome with the rushing stuff we've seen.
Yep.
I don't know if he's good, but he's been playing okay enough.
He's not, but for DFS purposes, he passes the eye test.
Like I don't care if he's good. All he has to do is be decent on Sunday. So I'm really into that at the salary. I think playing him with Jefferson is great again, especially since the underwhelming game logs are just going to lead people away from him. I'm going to keep for the Jefferson and hope it pays off. I think it's a really good spot to do that. Aaron Jones, 5,500, another pretty good mid-range running back. I think is worth a shout in this matchup. Like Chicago's been good. I don't know if I fully buy it. Against the run, they've been, pretty middle of the road. So I think Jones, like with the pass catching stuff, is someone you can still play with McCarthy. They're both pretty cheap. Addison, always worth a shot as a threat, but not as in him as I am with Jones in the same range.
Yeah, by the way, the Bears are the second worst team in terms of rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. So put that feather in your cap. All right, Packers 7-point road favorites against the Giants.
Put that feather right in your cap.
Damn straight. Okay, so I'm a Packers fan, and I watched the last two games. I wonder if the odds makers did, because what the hell? They are 7-point favorites, and they've looked like absolute dog shit. I would imagine against the Giants they'll get it going, but nothing's guaranteed. That said, we can only work with what's in front of us. Josh Jacobs looks amazing here. Like, they try to run the ball at will. When they get near the goal line, that's who they go to. I don't want to mess around with Jordan Love and their banged up wide receivers and everything. And whether or not they win the game or not, I'm not into predicting that right now because they are a mess. That said, Jacobs is the thing we can trust in the Packers offense. I'm all for Josh Jacobs as, like, you don't even have to go get C-Mac or Bijan technically for me on this slate. He can be your RB1.
Yeah. It's pretty much the spot for a running back, and I'm happy to give him the ball. He has 3 to 4 touchdown upside. I think it's kind of a scary fade in this spot.
Yeah.
They've been underwhelming. They're well aware of that. I think they would leap at this opportunity against a vulnerable, injury-riddled, poor defense. So I'm happy to play Jacobs. I think he's up there among the best plays at any position on the entire slate. The passing stuff is always a tougher sell. I think Dobbs at 5K is playable. Probably as a one-off. I don't want to play Jordan Love given his struggles and his wide array of options. So Jacobs is fine. Dobbs is fine. Packers defense, fine. That's about it.
I mean, I will say for a tourney strategy, stacking Love with one or two of his wide receivers is compelling. Like, on the year, Giants are bottom 10 against both quarterbacks and wide receivers. But they also have given up the second most rushing yards to running backs. So it's like, it is the nut spot for Green Bay's offense. If not now, win, man. So I do think the Packers passing game is good for tourneys, but straight up, Jacobs is the play on paper. Jameis Winston might start here. 4-6, Jameis Winston. On one hand, I want to relive the Browns versus Broncos from last year, but at the same time, Packers defense does look really good. They just really shut down the Eagles offense last week. He is 4.6, so YOLO. I think Wandale at 5.5 or Theo at 4.1, just cheap exposure to an offense that probably will be playing from behind, is okay. But overall, I'd rather just target the Packers defense if I was going to do anything with that.
Yeah, I think Jameis is always fun. I wish he had better weapons.
Is he always fun?
It's not. He's usually fun in
Sometimes.
one way or another.
Mm.
He's cheap. He's Jameis. He can put up 400 yards and 5 touchdowns and 5 interceptions and get
That's
there
true.
for you.
He is
probably not the spot to be chasing that against this defense. Wandale's okay. Let's move on.
Indeed. All right. Bengals and Steelers combined for a really explosive game the first time around. It's always possible they do again. 49.5 total. The Steelers are home favorites, even though they lost the first meeting. Jamar Chase was peppered just uncontrollably in that game. I believe he had 12 catches on 16 targets. Zero reason to think that's going to go away. So among the top wide receiver spends, he's the cheapest. He's cheaper than Puka and JSN. Sign me up for all of the Jamar Chase at 8.5K. He looks amazing. Obviously, 6K as leverage on a somewhat owned Jamar, but not enough owned in my opinion. That's fine. Chase Brown at 5.7 gashed the Steelers has been pretty damn good actually ever since Joe Flacco arrived. He looks awesome at 5.7. I love him in this spot. So yeah, I like the Bengals quite a bit. If you want to play Joe Flacco at 5.5 and pair him with Chase, that's okay. But it's mostly Chase and Chase for me.
Yeah, I agree. These are the two best plays on the slate at
Yep.
any position. I think Chase is just wildly underpriced for the role he's going to have. Assuming Flacco is in for this game, if it's Browning, it's a little less exciting.
Is that actually
seems like it'll be
doubt?
Flacco. I see a Q tag on Flacco. I don't know.
Okay.
He's been playing through an injury, so I'm assuming he's okay.
Just balling out.
Yeah, I don't see any reason to go away from Jamar Chase. I think
No.
Flacco at 5.5 is very playable as well.
Yeah.
I have around 10% of him right now. I tend to spread it out at quarterback, and I think this is a perfectly fine spot to attack again. Love Chase Brown, way too cheap for the role he's got. Higgins is fine. That's about it. I'm not really psyched about Higgins. It's really just the chases.
Yeah. And yeah, I agree with the spreading out too. Like that's why I don't want to pay a premium for Josh Allen because there's so many good values to try. Aaron Rodgers is actually one of them. He looked washed last week, but before that, he'd actually been pretty good. So in one spot where he was like kind of at his best was against this very Bengals defense that makes everybody look like a freaking superhero. So at 5.4K, he is an interesting play in tournaments. Obviously, just no rushing floor, so the ceiling is not as good as you'd want it to be. Jaylen Warren is a totally fine play in this spot, and DK Metcalf at 5.7. Like, he didn't do that great the first time he faced Cincy, but this is like a great matchup for him to get going. I do like the Steelers on the other side as well, not nearly as much as Cincy, but I think this game is very stackable.
Yeah, I think Warren is the best option by a decent amount. His price is coming up, but there's major PPR upside always with him. I think this is a really good spot for that also. Metcalf is okay. I'm getting a little Jonnu Smith, just a sub 3K punt tight end, which feels gross, but Cincinnati's very vulnerable and very attackable. So I think you can get multiple pieces here. I think those are the three that stand out, with Warren being pretty well ahead of the others. Calvin Austin, maybe like a large field dart throw at 4K with some upside, but kind of just Warren and then a dusting of the other guys.
Yeah, to further your case there, the Bengals are dead last against fantasy running backs. So, yeah, Warren looks good at 6-1 for sure. Houston against Tennessee. This is the bowl of the week. 21-15 is the projected total here. Godspeed, Titans. Texans defense, fire them up. Woody Marks by default at 5.4. I think he's okay. Nico is always in play, and he seems still not expensive enough. Don't really want to go crazy about the Texans offense, but I think if you wanted to, that's where I'd go. Mostly what's the Texans price? 3.7. It's way up as it should be. It's going to be hard not to play Houston's defense.
Yeah, it's the best defense in the league against the worst offense in the league. So it's a pretty easy sell,
Seems
even
pretty
at
good.
an expensive price tag.
Yeah.
But you should have, like, there's a lot of value on the slate. I think paying up for the defense is not a hard thing to do. So I think pretty good move. They will be owned, so that's worth noting. It is still a defense, very vulnerable and unpredictable, but kind of hard to see them sucking in this spot, to be honest. So I'm okay with that. Nico Collins is cheap, like you said, cheap probably for the role he'll have, even with Davis Mills in there again. Mills is still 4,500. Tennessee is vulnerable, maybe not as bad as Jacksonville in a dome last week, but not a dissimilar spot. So I don't think Mills is a bad play. I think Woody Marks is okay. We saw him outsnap Chubb last week. That's been a pretty volatile situation all year. But 5,400, Marks I think has upside against Tennessee. Dalton Schultz, I guess, on 4K. Kind of just the defense and kind of just Nico.
Yeah, I mean, Titans have been fourth worst against quarterbacks and wide receivers over the last 4 weeks, so it could very well be a Davis and Nico day once again. All right, so on the other side, Titans, I don't know if I'm for sure going to pay for Houston's defense, but I also am not going to play the Titans whatsoever. Cam Ward got cheaper. There's that.
I think you can play the Titans defense because it's 2,300 against Davis Mills. I think
dare you.
You
bite your tongue,
viable.
Sir.
It's viable.
Yeah.
If you need a punt defense, but
sure.
That is all.
Frankly, even if CJ were starting, it would be viable.
Yeah.
Technically. All right. San Francisco and Arizona, divisional game. We never know how those are going to go. They are 3-point favorites on the road against Arizona. By the way, Cardinals outside of last week have been pretty damn good. You got C-Mac up top, 9K. It feels a little bit steep now that we can see 2 out of the last 3 games. He does have a floor, but obviously he looks good based off roll. Brock Purdy is due back. I think he's okay. Juwan Jennings at 5-1, Kittle at 5. They both look really good, solid values. I'm okay with anything here. I just don't find myself getting there because I like better values. I'd rather get Jacobs or Bijan instead of C-Mac this week.
Yeah, I'll come in around 20 to 25% probably, just because it's C-Mac and he's fully capable of putting up 50 and totally breaking the slate in the dome against Arizona.
True.
So I'm okay with that. I think for the slate, he is a bit pricey. Like you said, there are alternatives you can consider. Kittle is okay. Jennings is okay. Purdy, if he's in, I guess you could consider. But really, I'm not super excited about San Francisco.
Same. I am a little bit excited, though, about Trey McBride, who is easily the highest ceiling tight end of the slate and still is not appropriately priced at 6.3K. And Jacoby Brissett, the DFS god, 20-plus fantasy points in every game, and DraftKings has not adjusted whatsoever. 4.9K is weirdly still way too cheap for Jacoby. So I really like that stack. No Marvin Harrison Jr., so for the first time ever, Michael Wilson actually looks kind of appealing at 3.8K. Not a must because he's just not a high usage guy in the first place. But that's where I'm at. I think Jacoby, Trey McBride stacks are going to feed families, and that's where I'm starting my builds right now.
Yeah, I was all about Jacoby last week. He was the highest owned quarterback by a mile, which looked really awful for the first half, and then he kind of got there in garbage time, thankfully.
It sure did.
But he's cheap. He's pretty good. Without Marvin Harrison, the target tree is even more. Trey McBride is very obviously the top tight end on the slate by many miles, and someone that's worth paying for in all formats.
Yeah.
I love Brissett. I think Wilson is a really good value, like you said. Could go a little over-owned, I think, given he's not really played this role before as the wide receiver 1. They still have Dortch. They still have other guys that can, run routes for them. So I'm okay with Wilson. I'm not super psyched about it. It's mostly McBride and Brissett for me.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what your build is. Do you need somebody in that price range? Then he's fine, but I don't think there's a ceiling there. I think it would just, more than anything, it's let's run a little bit more and let's give Trey more passes, or just spread it out. Seattle and LA, this is a tough one because this is 2 really good defenses, and it's also a divisional game with a lot on the line. Rams are favored by 3 at home. Still does have a nice 45.5 total anyways. So JSN, Sam Darnold, that's a stack we can certainly entertain. I don't love the matchup. I don't really want to pay almost 9K for JSN when I can just go get Jamar Chase for $400 cheaper. That's what I'm going to do. But if you want to play him, he's been crushing. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, this is the first slate in a while that we're going to have reasonably low ownership on JSN and Puka, I think. They'll both be double digits probably, but Chase is such an obvious play. McBride you're paying for at tight end. There are plenty of running backs to pay for. I just think these guys are going to kind of slip through the cracks. And while the defenses are good, the offenses are good too. We saw both of them score 40-plus last week, although I think Seattle was kind of aided by their defense. But still, they're explosive. We know the ball's going to these 2 guys. So I'll have plenty of both. I think just as pure Chase pivots, I think they're very strong individual plays. I prefer Smith and Jigba slightly over Puka, but it's not by a lot. They're both awesome plays. I think Devontae Adams is always interesting as a leverage play as well, but without Puka being mega chalk, it's less leverage you're getting. And he's also banged up as well. So that's worth noting. If Devontae's out, I think guys like Tyler Higbee might become interesting as punts, but not super interesting. Quarterbacks, I'm never really on these quarterbacks. Stafford's always pricey for his lack of rushing. It's kind of just the 2 receivers from both teams and very little else in this game.
I'm never going to tell somebody not to play Stafford again, though. I tell someone,
it's a lot. It's a lot to pay.
I said last week, if you're going to pay 6 whatever for Stafford, just pay $400 more to get Josh Allen, and they basically were the same. So it is what it is. But yeah, he's been crushing. If you want to play Stafford, fine. But Puka's the only thing I really like here. I guess Kyron keeps doing stuff, so he's fine as well. Baltimore at Cleveland. They are 7-point favorites. Browns do still have a good defense, so I'm not like super excited to go pay for Lamar, but 6'9" feels discounted. Like he could certainly wreck. Derrick Henry 6'6", discounted. Mark Andrews is a good punt. Zay Flowers is only 6'4", although his price came at $500. I don't know. Matchup stinks. Divisional game. Doesn't feel like the place to go pay a premium for any of these guys. But good tourney plays, I guess.
Yeah, it's weird to not have any interest in Baltimore, really. Like secondary interest in Lamar and Henry and Andrews. Zay Flowers' price came up, so not really into that. It's just a tough spot on the road, divisional game. Cleveland can defend. I think the Cleveland defense is another punt worth considering at 2-4, but I don't really want to play the Cleveland offense. I'm not super into Judkins. Fannon's banged up. Tillman's banged up. This is another game that's just sort of a cross-off for me.
It is. I will say it definitely is for me. I will say, though, they did kind of crush Cleveland last time they faced them week 2. They put like 40 points on them. So, I mean, they just might know how to cook them. And then Lamar comes out and gets like 35. I don't think he naked is a bad tourney play at all. It's just not something I'm getting to right now because I'd rather save money and spend up at other spots. Browns on the other side, Quinshon Judkins, you can always play him. Ravens defense seems pretty good right now, though. They seem like they figured it out. So I don't really want to play Browns. Not into Gabriel. I think 4.4K Jerry Jeudy and 3.3K David Njoku. I think those are okay values just because they're probably going to be playing from behind the whole game. So if I land there and I don't find a better play, I think that's fine.
Yeah, I touched on Cleveland. I'm not super interested. I think Judy's usage is getting better, so I guess you can consider that, but it's the Browns. I'm not very excited about it.
No, nor should you be. All right, last game of the week, KC at Denver. KC is 4-point favorite, even though they're on the road and the Broncos defense is very good. That seems a little suspicious. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes and co have been really good on the year. So Mahomes, Rasheed, Xavier Worthy as a tournament play. Like, I think you can play them all, but they're not going to be owned for a good reason. I feel like this total is too high. I don't know. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle. So just in tournaments, I guess you could do it. I'm not really getting there personally.
I kind of like Mahomes stacks as the low-owned way to play this game with a lot of upside. Like Rice has been very involved since he came back. Worthy and Kelsey are both under 5K. So you're paying a premium for Rice and Mahomes, but then there's like a secondary cheaper guy you can plug into those stacks to kind of offset that. So I think that's pretty interesting. Kansas City's running game is just fucking nothing, so I don't really have any interest in any of that. Denver defense, another talented defense that's priced pretty affordably at 2,600. I think that's okay, but not a priority. And then the Denver stuff, like RJ Harvey, maybe he's cheap. He's been getting involved. He's been scoring touchdowns and stuff, catching passes. He's another mid-range running back. I think I prefer like Aaron Jones in that range, but Harvey's decent and worth keeping in a pool. Maybe Troy Franklin at the same price as a wide receiver is fine, but the Denver side looks pretty tough overall to get to.
It does. I'm very interested in RJ Harvey, though. For only 5.4K, no J.K. Dobbins. Going to get a major volume boost, you would think. Sean Payton has messed with us before. He could do it again, but on paper, he looks awesome. 6'1", Bo Nix, dual threat ability. Courtland Sutton, Troy Franklin, both relatively cheap, so you can complete the stack if you want to, and I can't say words right now, apparently. Honestly, the more I look at this, though, I think it's one of two things. Either one, I'm going to just fade the main slate and just play the early slate because I don't like any of these games that much, or I'm going to attack that approach and really go over on a lot of these afternoon games because nobody wants to play them and nothing here actually looks good. Like if nobody's going to play Broncos and Chiefs and Lamar and JSN, who's 13% owned, let's fire those guys up more than the field is, right? Because then all of a sudden, if they hit, you are running away with it to close out this slate. But on paper, it all looks pretty bad. Every afternoon game here looks like absolute dog shit, except for Jacoby and Trey.
I don't know. Like 3 of those games, the Denver, KC, LA, Seattle, and San Francisco, Arizona could all shoot out. Like it's not impossible to see that. Like they all have weapons and explosive pieces. They are decent defenses for the most part, and they're all divisional games as well. So that's, something that might make it a tougher sell. But I do agree that there's edge in the late games. Like
for sure,
people are stacking the early stuff. I think that's where the value is. But it's football. it's very inherently volatile and unpredictable. So eating some of the early chalk and then pivoting some of that to the later stuff, I think is pretty interesting.
I think that is the way we win. Okay, that's going to do it for us. Hopefully it does help you out. If it does, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and come join us in Discord. Thanks for watching, and good luck.